Welcome back to the Intro to Business Analytics course. In this section, we're going to talk about the fundamentals of analytics. So let's get started. So, what is analytics? Analytics is the systematic analysis of data to discover, interpret, and communicate meaningful patterns and trends. The purpose of analytics is to support informed decision making, provide insights to solve business problems, and drive growth by identifying opportunities. There are really four types of analytics. On the right hand side, you can see a graph that a lot of people in the industry refer to as the data maturity curve. So, as an organization, you'll fall somewhere on this curve. At the bottom left, you have descriptive analytics. This tells an organization what happened. It's essentially a summary of past data to describe business performance. You can look at how many orders you had in the last 12 months, your revenue, your profit margin. These are all descriptive analytics telling you about what happened before. The next level up is diagnostic analytics. This is telling you why something happened. So you identify factors and causes. So, for example, let's say Taylor Swift performed a concert in Dallas. You've noticed that around the time of her concert, you saw a huge increase in your total sales. Does that mean that there is now a huge demand for your product in Dallas consistently moving forward? Probably not. What it really means is you had a bunch of Taylor Swift fans in Dallas for a specific period of time and your product sold better. And so that helps you understand why there's some variations, why there's some spikes, and why there's some valleys in your sales, your revenue, and specific areas and specific times. The next level up is predictive analytics. What is likely to happen? So you use that historic data, you leverage data models, and you try to forecast future trends. This helps you figure out where you need to deploy capital and resources to really capture additional demand in areas where you think that there's going to be additional demand based on past data. So, going back to that Taylor Swift example, if you know that she's going to be performing a concert in Kansas City now, well, now you know you might see a spike in your sales. So you might try to get more of your product into Kansas City so that you can be there to absorb that additional demand caused by all of those fans going to Kansas City. The next level up on the data maturity model is prescriptive analytics. This is telling you what you should do, essentially recommending actions based on data insights. At one of the companies I consulted with, we worked on creating a prescriptive analytics tool. We created an application, but probably more importantly for the sales team, we created a daily email that gave them the list of the top 5 things they should do that day. This allows them to prioritize the items that generated the most income and the biggest results. And as a result, we saw the sales team's performance really skyrocket that year. Going back to that Taylor Swift example, if the system's able to identify that there's a Taylor Swift concert happening in a new city, it will actually alert you that that concert is happening there and give you a recommendation based on previous performance to show how much more product staff, you should shelf in the stores in that location. So, for example, let's say her next stop on her concert tour is Chicago, Illinois, and you've seen a 25% increase in sales at every stop. It might make sense, and actually it makes a lot of sense, to try to stock 25% more product in stores near the concert venue in Chicago during that specific time. And so by knowing that early, you can make some supply chain decisions, logistic decisions, and also work with retailers to really increase their stock for your product during that specific time. So you'll see a lot of companies, especially right now, are trying to migrate from the descriptive to the predictive analytics space. And few companies are actually trying to break into the prescriptive area right now. It takes a lot of work for an organization to move from the bottom left to the top right of this data maturity graph. Next up, we want to talk about the steps in the analytics process. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because we had a very similar slide in the data driven decision making video right before this one. So, as you may remember, step one is to define the problem. Then we want to gather and analyze the data, develop insights, test those insights, and then review those results. And if the results solve the problem, then we deploy that solution. But if it doesn't solve the problem, we try to redefine the problem. We try to see what we've learned from this first iteration of the circle and apply those learnings to create a better solution. And the goal is hopefully each time you go through this circle, your solution becomes more and more sophisticated and more accurate towards the problem you're trying to solve. So there's a lot of tools that are being used now. On the screen, I have some of the biggest and most commonly used technologies in the analytics space. But just on a very high level, for a data collection perspective, SQL, Python, and Excel are used pretty much universally. From data visualization tools, essentially, how do you view your data, whether it's in a table, a graph, some kind of diagram? Those best tools, or the best tools in that area, are Tableau, Power BI, and Google Data Studio. From a statistical and modeling tool perspective, you have R, Python, and SAS. You'll notice that Python pops up in both locations as data collection and modeling tools. Highly recommend you learn Python. It's extremely highly in demand and it is highly correlated to getting paid extremely well in the market. And then from a machine learning tool perspective, there's a bunch of different tools out there. Some of my favorites are TensorFlow and Keras. A lot of options are out there. A lot of tools are being built because of the huge demand for machine learning tools right now, and it's a pretty fastly growing market currently. So now that we know the tools and some of the high level understandings of how to attack an analytics problem, really there's a lot of different ways you can apply analytics to different aspects of a business. The four key areas that I often look into are customer analytics, so really understanding customer behavior and preferences. There's financial analytics, forecasting revenue, costs, budgeting, and financial planning. This really helps organizations figure out where they need to allocate resources to make sure their business continues to remain strong and continues to grow. There's operational analytics. So I spend a lot of time working with supply chain teams and logistics teams to optimize those channels and really help them improve their efficiencies. And then from a marketing analytics perspective, it's really about measuring campaign effectiveness and targeting to ensure that you're engaging with the customers that you want to.